Check, check. All righty. It having reached the hour of 5:30 p.m., I'm calling the May 21st, 2025 Community Police Review Board meeting to order. Just a quick announcement. Before proceeding, I would like to provide the board members some guidance on how to use the technology at the dais. To speak, you will need to use the mics, which are activated by pushing the talk button. You will need to wait for the chair to acknowledge the speaker before proceeding to talk. Will the clerk call the roll?
Member Beasley Day. Member Bryant. Member Christensen. Present. Member Jamrell.
Here.
Member Grant.
Here.
Member Smith. Member Hahn. Chairman Solorio.
Here.
Board Member Byrd is absent this evening. We would like to ask the board to consider her request for an excused absence, which meets our criteria for granting of an excused absence. At this time, we ask for a motion from the board to grant her an excused absence.
All in favor? Aye. All righty. On to the first topic. Do any of the board members have any conflicts of interest pertaining to items listed on the agenda tonight? All righty. Seeing none, I will now open it up to the public. As noted on the agenda, public comments will only be in person. Zoom will be available for viewing and wordly translation. Does anyone wish to speak on any item under public comment? This is for items not on the agenda, and you would have 3 minutes to speak. All right, seeing none, I will close public comments. And we'll be on to consent item A. Consider approving minutes from the Community Police Review Board meeting on April 16th, 2025. Would anyone like to remove the consent item for further discussion? If not, is there a call for a motion?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All right, on to new business. Up first, we will have a presentation on community engagement and activities presentation from Lieutenant Brian Kleiber.
Hear me?
You might have to bend your knees a little bit to get to the mic.
For future reference, maybe we'll try to raise that a little bit. Okay. Chief, they put it up your size, not mine. Sorry. So, thanks for having me here today. Obviously, my purpose is to talk about some of the community engagement activities we're involved in, some of the things that we do to involve ourselves with the community. Just one thing I would ask that you consider, as you listen to this, is that if there's anything that you see that we're falling short on, that's what we're here for, and let us know any other ideas you have that we could reach out to folks within our community. So one other thing I want to also bring to your attention, our crime prevention unit, CPU, is really tasked with a lot of these things that we're involved in and engage with in the community. Up until July of 24, we only had one person in there because of staffing issues. In July, we were able to add a second full-time employee in the crime prevention unit. And then in March, we were able to add a third. So we're seeing these pick up from where they've been in the past, even though I think we were doing pretty well also. So what I'm going to be doing is going back to events over the last 14 months. Initially, I put this together for March. From March meeting, we got pushed back to May. So I'll be going over basically the last 14 months or so of activities that we've been doing in our department. So first, I think one that most everyone is familiar with is National Night Out. It's always the first August in the first Tuesday in August. So this year it'll be on August 5th this year. Hopefully we'll see some of you folks out there. I've been going almost every year the last 25 years, and it's a good time. I know some of you have also been there for that. We had 92 registered parties last year throughout the city. And for cities of our size, we came in first in the state of California and sixth in the nation, which is something that I think we could be pretty proud of, because it's a pretty tall order putting that together, but it's also a really important event and a pretty good time also. So we also have the Wake Up program, which not sure how familiar everyone is with this. Obviously geared toward younger folks between 12 and 17 years old. We put together about 2 classes a year typically, and it's geared toward young folks who are somewhat at risk of getting into some trouble later on, between 12 and 17 years old. They can be referred to us either by their school that they're going to or from a parent, and that's who can enroll them. One of the requirements is that one of their parents or guardians comes to every meeting with the kid, because the purpose isn't to be a daycare center, but it's to actually teach the youngster and the parent how they can work together to do better in school, do better in home, and not get in trouble. So it's a 8-week program. Parents must attend with the students, and really the purpose is to educate youth on making good choices. And just so you know, the next class tentatively is planned for August or September. About once a month, we do Coffee with a Cop events. Our next one actually is scheduled for June 18th. Just came out today over at 4800 Dale Road at Giacomo's. So if you'd like to come out for that, that would probably be a good opportunity for everyone here as well. But we have about one of those a month. We've had 12 and soon to be 13 since March of last year. Neighborhood watch meetings is something that is typically set up with the crime prevention unit. So far, again, going back to March of last year, we've done 15 neighborhood watch meetings. Those are generally coordinated with folks within the neighborhood who want to get together with their neighbors and with someone from our police department to discuss issues, trends, things like that going on in the neighborhood. So if anyone is ever interested in setting up a meeting, you can always hit me up. We can get a hold of crime prevention and find a way to set that up. So this isn't something we do outside of work, but I thought it's kind of a nifty idea that someone had. And that is, one of the issues we have in our city is traffic safety. And we have a lot of pedestrian versus vehicle accidents that occur late at night. And unfortunately, those oftentimes turn out very poorly for the pedestrians. So about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, I think, we started purchasing some reflective vests for those who actually want to wear them at night. For folks who are unfortunate enough to have to walk or bicycle through the neighborhoods late at night, hopefully to let them they'll be a little bit more seen by vehicles, and also an opportunity for them to engage with the officers as they pass those out. We've had 4 community town hall events over the last year or so. Right there is the location. We've had one on Woodland, one on Oakdale Road, one on Carver Road, and one on Martin Luther King that was just last week, actually. So the way I would just basically describe these, they're basically like a neighborhood watch meeting, but it's just super, super enhanced because they have more than just the police and the community. You have other sectors of the department, such as engineering, parks and rec, public works, city manager's office, those types of things that attend these events also. And so we always maintain involvement with those as well. I won't go into detail too much with this. I'm sorry, I was actually sick last month, so I was able to come. But my understanding is Detective Dodge went over this pretty well, the 10K with a cop, that type of event. So we'll move on from there. Every January, St. Joseph's Church on Oakdale Road sets up a blue mass. It's not just for MPD, it's really for all first responders throughout the county. So fire's there, AMR's there. There's obviously not a requirement to be Catholic or even have to be involved in a religion, but just as an opportunity for the folks who attend the church to meet their local first responders and show support as well. This is one that I really like a lot. Not that I don't the others as well, but the CSI camp I think is a really neat opportunity for youngsters in our city. It's geared toward youth between the ages of 8 and 13 years old. And it's a collaboration between the Parks and Rec Department as well as the police department to teach youngsters of those ages a little bit about the police department, about law enforcement, and how to process crime scenes. So they learn how to take 911 calls. They learn how to collect evidence such as fingerprints and casting impressions, how to document details in a report. And it's a week-long adventure for them. And on Friday, they have an opportunity to actually process a mock crime scene that's overseen by our own ID unit, who are the professionals that process our crime scenes for us. So I checked on that today, in case I was asked, and there is a waiting list right now for this year. We have 2 sessions, one in June and one in July, but you can get someone involved in that on the waiting list if you would like to do so through the Parks and Rec Department. I'm gonna skip by the Healthy Room Project as well, but I just wanted to notate that in here. Again, that was something that Detective Dodge talked a lot about last month. And obviously, I think it's one of the neater things that we get involved in. We do an annual youth summit, I should say. This year's was held on April 11th out at the Sheriff's Academy. And this is something that was spearheaded from a collaboration with our Modesto Clergy Council and the Modesto Police Department. And it's an effort to unite the students, the Clergy Council, MPD, other local law enforcement agencies, and the school district, the Modesto City Schools, into one event. So the kids get an opportunity to do some role playing. This is geared toward high school level kids. They get an opportunity to do some role playing with officers. They get to hear officers speak about, their careers and that type of thing, and then they connect over lunch with one another. We've also had 15 open houses over the last year or so for various positions from our police department, anything from, police support specialists to police officers to park rangers and every opportunity between. And I'm not sure exactly when we started doing these, but I think it was within the last 2 years or so. And I think it's a neat idea because this career is a tough one to get into for folks who don't know someone who's in it, because you just don't know where to get started, right? I know when I started I put in my first application back in 1998, and I was a complete loss as to what to do with it and how to go about that. So what we do is we want to, offer people a little bit more insight into it. So the purpose of open houses is not just to talk about what the position is and what the duties are, but also how to get there and what the application process is going to look like, what the training process is going to look like, and what the requirements are to get into it and those types of things. Those are open to the public. So, yes. They're pretty well attended. My understanding is that we typically have 30, 40 people at each one, depending on the spot, obviously, but they're pretty well attended. I'm sorry? Yes. Yeah, they're held in the theater at the police department, so it can hold quite a few people. So if anyone is interested in a position at the police department, if you follow our social media, that's where these open houses come into play. It can be found. So kind of along those lines, we also do career days. We've done 14 career days over the last year or so at various schools throughout town. Enox, Capistrano, Stockard, Coffee, Sisk, Bret Hart, Fairview, and so forth. And these are, just a typical career fair, but it gives young people, some elementary, some middle school, some high school, again, some insight into what the police department's like and how they can go about getting there if that's a profession they choose. We also have the Leadership Academy Public Safety Days. So the Southwest County has their own Leadership Academy for youth, juniors and seniors in high school. And one of those days, every academy is focused on law enforcement, so they can come to the police department, check out the RTCC. I believe Chief Gillespie maybe speaks to them a little bit and talks to them. I think they do a ride along, maybe just check out the various units that we have within the police department. I think they actually tour the jail as well that day. So.
Sheriff's office. I don't know if they were the jail.
Okay, so Sheriff's Office, I'm sorry. So we've worked also with the local nonprofit DB project, and their purpose is to provide youngsters with things that they need that may not be able to get from home just because of finances, school supplies, clothing, furniture, those types of things. We typically do a backpack giveaway with them. We did this last August at Robertson Road School, where kids could receive backpacks and shoes if they needed them to return to school for the year. I know we also did like a turkey dinner delivery for Thanksgiving that year, working with the DB project as well. Yeah. Yes. Yes, those go through the DB project. So they do fundraisers throughout the year so they can purchase these types of things. and then that's where they get their funding from. Our canine unit also does a Santa Paws event every November. So this year it'll be on November 8th. If anyone's interested, it's kind of a neat event to go to. The canine officers do some demonstrations with their dogs and show how the dogs work. They have vendors for the public, people within the public that sell arts and crafts to come out and sell their wares. It's free for the vendors as well. You know, it's located out at Beckwith Veterinary over near Beckwith and 99. They put it on every year, but the main purpose behind it is it's obviously free admission, but bring some toys to deliver to the kids. And all of these go out to Sierra Vista. So that's what they collected last year. They had a pretty good haul. And speaking of the canines, we've done through 38 canine demonstrations for the public over the last year. Those are typically done with like scout troops or schools or those types of things. But they're a good way for our canine officers to interact with the public. And if anyone's interested in any of these in the future, hit me up and let me know. I can arrange that for you as well. And along with the toy drives that our explorers do one every year also. They do typically 2 weekends this last year. They were up at the Walmart at Upper McHenry, 3800 McHenry. They collect these toys as well, and they deliver them either to families that the explorers are already familiar with that need a little bit help for the holiday season, and those that don't go to get delivered in that manner go with the patrol officers, and they put these in their trunk, and they can hand them out through the course of December to families that might need a little bit extra for the season. We also have a Behind the Badge program. It's part of the after-school program. I think Detective Dodge talked a little bit about it, but he was telling me today that he didn't go into too much detail with it. But basically, it's a partnership. I put on here Mark Twain, but he told me this morning that he also does one at Hanshaw. And so they do that every year as well. So over the course of the week, the kids just learn about law enforcement, the various units, the canine unit, the SWAT team, those types of things. And he said about 50 to 60 children attend these events. Miracle League of Stanislaus is a local nonprofit that allows children with severe physical or mental disabilities to experience what it's like to play baseball. And our officers, as you can see here, they go out there a few times a year and play with the kids, let the kids play some baseball out in a special field. The field's located up at 1020 Pellendale, and it's renovated specially for these kids so they can go out there and play and feel what it's like to go out and play baseball. And so our officers go out there a few times a year and help them with that as well. We also do the Special Olympics. We do quite a few fundraisers for that throughout the year, the Tippecop event, the law enforcement car wash out in Ceres, as well as the Badges with Buckets. And the ultimate fundraiser behind this is the Torch Run. And this isn't just a Modesto thing, it's actually nationwide. But they run a torch through Modesto and collect donations for that that go toward the Special Olympics. We also have the Every 15 Minutes program. This is a partnership with Sutter Gould, Memorial Hospital, Stanislaus Sheriff's Office, Modesto Fire, Modesto CHP. And it's basically just to reenact what it's like to have a fatal drunk driving collision. So the kids see the process from beginning to end. As you can see from the slideshow, it even includes the helicopter coming down to med-flight someone out. The purpose is to show them how serious drunk driving can be. This is funded through a grant from the California Office of Traffic Safety. And over the last year, we've done these presentations at Johansson, Bayer, and Downey. Read Across America is something that was established in 1998 by the National Education Association. And the purpose is to get kids reading. And it's focused on 1 week a month in March. And over the last 2 years in March, we've done 3 of these events throughout the city at Beard, Martone, Hughes, and C.F. Brown schools. And as you can see, it's basically just our officers go there in uniform, talk to the kids, read them a little bit of a book and that type of thing. This one's coming up in a couple weeks over at the dog park at 601 West Morris. The Dog Walkers Watch, where we have our crime prevention unit, along with animal control officers, canine officers, and chat workers go out there and just talk to people about safety, walking their dogs through the neighborhoods. The MPD Youth Academy is a 2-day event for high schoolers who are interested in a career in law enforcement to come out. It's open to kids between 13 and 17 years old and just learn about MPD, our special units, crime scene processing, those types of things. Generally, we have 20 to 25 kids who attend this event as well. And I was told just this week that they'll have one in July. So if you know anyone who might be interested in that, any high school age kids that might be interested in that, just watch our social media because they're planning on posting that in June. We also play a few basketball games every year. I think Chief Gillespie and I used to play a lot more. I think you still play sometimes.
I cheer on.
But we have an annual game with Bayer High School. Their basketball team, we actually won this year, I was told, which says a lot for our guys. We have Hoops and Hot Dogs, Hoop and Heroes events sporadically throughout the year. We've had a couple of those this year. And I know at least one board member attended our donkey basketball game against Best of Fire, which we won in pretty dramatic fashion. Sorry, Mr. Bryant. That's always the first week in March, and the purpose behind that is a fundraiser. And on our end, it goes towards the Modesto Running Club. So this is kind of a neat event. It's something that we just participate in. We don't spearhead it, but out at MJC West, West Campus, they do a Touch a Truck event. It's basically to teach kids about heavy machinery and the career fields that they can go to within that. So we attend that with our SWAT team, our evidence processing team, those types of things. That's run through the Chamber of Commerce, is my understanding. And it's used to teach kids about career paths using heavy machinery, and the proceeds benefit scholarships through the Modesto Chamber of Commerce Foundation. We also, every year for, I think at least the last 15 to 20 years, we've participated in the Robertson Road School Fall Festival. And that's a school-wide event that they do on a Thursday in October. Usually it's around the last or mid to last Thursday in October. We always have our explorers out there, our canine unit. Traffic usually goes up there as well. And it's just a chance for the families to get together at the school toward the beginning of the school year. And we always make sure we have representation there as well. So my sister-in-law actually runs that on the Robertson Road School end, and she's retiring this year. So we're going to make sure we keep that going as well. This isn't a forward-facing event, but I thought it was something worth giving a quick shout out to. I think most of you know about Mikey Rukaitis, our detective who was shot 3.5 years ago in August of 21. This last year, he started our own MPD blood drive because of what he needed back when that happened with him. And so we were able to collect 51 units of blood for the community on that day. And so finally, getting toward the end, these are just a few miscellaneous events I also thought would be worth touching on. We have 4 of our employees or full-timers that are involved with Sierra Vista Mentorship Program, where a kid is selected through Sierra Vista, and our folks go through some training with Sierra Vista, and they spend the year spending an hour and a half with that kid throughout the year, teaching about life choices, how to do better in school, how to do better in home, those types of things. We do a Save a Seat program with Mark Twain and Robertson Road throughout the year sporadically, where our officers will go and sit with a kid who might not have anyone else to sit with during lunch and just kind of make them feel a little bit more involved. We have the LEAD program, which is the licensee education on alcohol and drugs. And that's something we host at the police department. It's really run through ABC to teach local business owners about the various laws they should be aware of. Business Watch academies are pretty similar to Neighborhood Watch, but they're run through for businesses as well. This last year, we were involved in the Family Fun Day at Oregon Park. Every October, we participate with Red Ribbon Week events through the school systems, as well as various trunk or treat events. We always have a booth out at Earth Day at Graceta Park, and then throughout the year, we do car seat inspections as well through the traffic unit for people who want to come by the police department and make sure that their car seats are set up properly. And so that's it. Any questions? Sure. Any questions from the board?
Thank you, Lieutenant Kleiber. Yeah, does the board have any questions? Okay, go ahead.
Brian, I've noticed that most of the emphasis with these school programs are focus primarily on Mark Twain, Robertson Road, Hanshaw Middle School. Um, I'm, I hesitate to make an assumption, but it seems to me that you're targeting areas, for lower income, perhaps kids that you deem more at risk. Is that an accurate assessment, or
We
would you
always
like
want
to do it? Would you like to expand it to more of the middle schools?
Yeah, we do attend events all over town, but of course, we want to really focus attention on kids who are at risk. And we also get a lot of requests from those schools as well, to come by and help out. In addition.
And I would say the other thing is that we did have a CalVIP grant that we received, and we had to identify a specific area based on different data points. And so West Modesto that encompasses Mark Twain, and it's an area of, I don't know the exact boundaries, but I think it's Carpenter to like Paradise to Mays into MLK, somewhere in that vicinity was what was identified. So that's why Officer Dodge, who's included in the grant, or Detective Dodge, who's included in the grant, focuses on those areas primarily.
Just to kind of piggyback off of that, now I love the programs and all that, and I did also notice that they were in the west side type of area of our city, and those areas primarily are Latino youth or Black youth. And so my, not necessarily concern, but I I wonder any data that might reflect all of these programs and how it could be helping the youth, because our youth arrest rates and everything that we're actually looking into for Latino youth arrest rates. If you guys have any data that may happen to show how this is helpful for those kids in that area, just to,
Yeah, we could look at arrest rates. It's really hard to do a correlation, obviously, because some of these programs have been around a lot longer than others.
Mhm.
Some as long as I've been here, some are fairly recent. So I don't know if a correlation could really be done.
Yeah, I think a lot of these programs, as you can see, these aren't all MPD generated, correct? Right? There's a lot that other organizations, Sierra Vista, Boys and Girls Club, whatever it may be, maybe have the core program, and then we provide assistance through whatever means that we can. And usually, a lot of our assistance either comes through grants, either directly to us or pass through, or come with kind of in kind with our donation of officers' time and things like that. Definitely, I think getting exact metrics is difficult when we're not the lead agency on that. But I can tell you, as Detective Dodge pointed out last time, and it was Modesto City Schools data on suspension rate, discipline rates, all that for, I don't remember the exact schools. I know Mark Twain was included in there. I don't know. I can't remember if there was more than that. But when you looked at disciplinary rates and all that, it's dropped dramatically. Now, again, it's hard to pull out what direct impact or what percentage Detective Dodge is responsible for that. I would like to think that that there is some impact there, but no doubt Modesto City Schools is doing a fantastic job of doing other stuff as well. So I think that's always going to be the struggle, but definitely open to any suggestions on how we can crunch data better, collect it. From our perspective, anything that we can be involved in where we're building relationships, making people see us as partners rather than foes, is something that we think that long term will help people through, potentially be on the right path. Now, a lot of other life factors come into those things, but yeah, if there's any suggestions you guys have as far as how we can crunch data and really have a overall assessment of whether these programs are working or not, or having any significant impact, I'm all ears. But it's pretty difficult to do.
yeah. Maybe if we can possibly get the information on the organizations that do put a lot of these programs together, and maybe we or you guys can reach out and see if they do collect data themselves, and maybe they'll be willing to give it to us to review.
Yeah, we could find out. One other thing I would just add too is it's not just, I mean, obviously these are focused on the kids,
Mhm.
Most part, but it's a pretty big benefit for the officers as well.
Yeah.
To get involved in that. And, I've noticed that volunteerism isn't quite as high as it was 25 years ago. So getting officers to go out there and be involved with the community, it provides another benefit on that side too.
Okay.
I had a
I have a question for him. Grant?
I just had a suggestion. Maybe you guys can get the data from progress reports, grades, because I'm pretty sure like when they enter the program, You guys get names, some information. Maybe you guys can go through, behavioral reports, progress reports, grade reviews, and then you guys can measure it that way. Like, so and so came into the program, they were getting middle school, so they weren't passing, and then because they joined the program, they were passing, and behavior has improved. There's not too many in-school suspensions. You can measure it that way. Those could be performance measures.
For sure. Thanks.
Thank you, Austin.
Nico? I wanted to offer more commentary on this. On the flip side of the data piece, some that are community-based, the Touch a Truck event that was brought up here is an event we've done twice. I'm hoping to bring it back again this year. I've done a lot of the outreach to pull a lot of first responder presence, not just PD. We've had the sheriff fly in for these. The last event we had, open to the public, free event, we had close to 6,000 people come to it. Always align at every vehicle in this law enforcement zone, so it draws attention, a lot of engagement from youth climbing in, over, on, and talking to officers. So I step back and watch the rigs and the trailers and the kids running around. They never miss the fire and the police and the AMR and whatever else we have there. So it's just impact. There's no data I can collect on that either, other than attendance and energy.
I have one more thing. And then also, I love all of the programs that you guys have. I was just wondering, if you guys could maybe add one. I think personally this idea could be a little too far, but have you guys ever thought of maybe doing, I would call it, I don't want to call it the word I want to call it, so I'll call it civilian highlight, to where, recidivism is a big thing in our community and just anywhere in this country. And you guys are very much involved with some of the same people you guys arrest commonly all the time. So I was thinking, maybe a good idea would be to highlight some of those people that you guys come in contact with a lot, that you guys have maybe arrested several times. But then, you've seen the same person and they've been good for 2 years, and you guys have been known to get this person year in and year out. But then they're in the community, they're doing things, and they're showing that they want to be a valuable member to society. I think that would be a good, segue for the police department to start highlighting some of the people they're keeping away out of recidivism.
Yeah. I like that. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea when we can identify those people that are the success stories, and providing motivation to people maybe struggling or at risk to say, hey, if he can make it or she can make it, I can do it. I think it's a good idea.
I know we had a few questions over here. Brad?
It's just segue from what was just said. In another volunteer thing I've been working on is neighborhoods, and having any kind of interaction in neighborhoods to deal with social isolation. And it's actually starting, we've got about 40 or 50 neighborhood type things happening countywide. And what I found is we're terrible at telling the story. And one thing that we're doing that's very simple, but you have to be intentional about it, is taking your phone and doing a video. Brian, how did this day affect you? The police officer, chief, how did this affect you? What did you learn from this? What's going to make a difference? It's very anecdotal data. It's the opposite of what has been asked up here, but it feels really good, and that person acknowledges it and identifies it, and then they're getting their family to look on the website because they're featured this month or whatever. But it takes time and it costs, because you have to have somebody that's willing to collect all that data and then get it out there. So that's what we're doing, is we're spending probably probably a third of our budget is on just this kind of stuff, which you don't ever do, right? You don't do it and nobody knows until we come to one of these things. And I had no idea you guys are doing all that stuff, but it's just, you have to be intentional about it and find a person that can do that. It's probably not Brian or you that would do that, or me. It would be somebody that's their task, is to be sure that we collect this data, which still fits in with what you're talking about. It's, go talk to that person who you saw that was struggling through whatever whatever the thing is you're doing. But I tell you, it's very money well spent because we're terrible as a whole at tooting our own horns, and that's really, raises the level up like you can't believe.
Yeah, for sure. I
So-
mean, yeah, hard data can be tough, to figure out cause and effect, but anecdotal data kind of has a negative connotation to it, but it's not. It's life experience is anecdotal by definition, right? And so giving people's life experiences out there is one of the most impactful kinds of data you can have,
Yeah.
right? It doesn't mean we shouldn't look at report cards and suspension rates, right? Because those are important as well, and those kind of help you figure out on a more wider spread
Well, and
how things are working. But
hopefully, like the chief said, it isn't just what the police department does, it's what you do, it's what the chamber does, it's what the
Right.
schools do. And it's very difficult to pick out your little thing when other things are happening, but collectively, things are happening collectively when you see less kids going out on detention, you see, more people coming to school, those all are really things to celebrate.
no, you're right. They're really important. And sometimes I don't know that we do a great job of telling that story out there, and the way people experience these things is, super important. We go through crime stats every 2 weeks at our CompStat meeting, but I kind of feel like I have a thumb on the crime rate by listening to my back door at the number of sirens I hear on Saturday nights, and it's anecdotal, but it's true. And so no, I think that's good stuff. for sure.
Maybe you guys can further build a relationship with Johansson VPN, get them to come out to some of the events and do some recordings for you guys, things like
Great
that.
idea.
Yeah.
That really is, because that could be one of the class projects.
Because they did the 10K with the cop. That video was put together really well. So
They do a fantastic job. So we're definitely always looking to do more partnerships with them. But to your point, we don't do a good job as a city in general of our community, from everybody, of telling our own story, because there's amazing stuff that goes on here every single day, not just the police department, but everywhere. And, there's still somewhat of a negative connotation, I think, often of our city. So very, very good point. Very well taken. It's something that we'll consider. And then just to go back, maybe to Austin's point, is it is something, I told you guys before, and some of you guys are part of Project Resolve, but that's a conversation I've been having with the facilitator there, Kate Trumpeter, of how do when we talk about data, there's a lot of good organizations that do a lot of good stuff. But we all, and somewhat crossover, but there's not really a collection point of data, because to your point, Austin, Minnesota City Schools is going to have information on suspension rates and discipline, but Sierra Vista may have something about, behavioral health or other things like that. And we don't have any type of clearinghouse. And I get there's a lot of logistics. You talk about HIPAA and you talk about all these other things, privacy rights, which are absolutely important that we want to make sure that we abide by. But how do we still abide within those laws and regulations and privacy, but get data that we can evaluate whether all these things are working together? Because I think we all agree, things that aren't working, let's drop it and do something else. But oftentimes we just operate in these silos. And so it's a conversation, ongoing conversation. I don't think there's an easy answer to it, but know that it is on our radar. There are conversations having about how do we collectively come together and be more cohesive with all the good things that we're doing. And then to your point, Brad, then we need to get it out there and talk about it and be our own spokespeople about what we're doing.
I'm curious about something, I guess, sort of indirectly related to this, maybe directly. Have you noticed any of your recruits that have gone through these programs that have mentioned that during their interviewing process and all that? Is this, I guess what I'm asking, is this bearing fruit with your recruitment efforts?
Absolutely. Again, we have all our recruits go through a Healthy Room Project while they're in the field training program. We always have them now. They're fairly frequently. So they're I say required, but it doesn't take much once they're there and you see the smiles on their face and what they're doing, involved in Coffee with Cops, Healthy Room Project, all of these things. And again, those one-on-one conversations like you're talking about, Brad, and I probably need to bring a video camera and make sure that I'm recording that. But when you talk about someone who's saying, hey, one of our recruits with a big smile on their face, saying, this is the first time I've actually put together a bed, and excited that they're doing it. And then many of you have been involved in Healthy the Room project, but just the hair on the back of your neck that stands up when you see the kids walk in the room, that's going to have an impact on anybody. So no, we've heard that impact from our officers, and there's no doubt that that has an impact on how they go out and do their job and kind of setting the foundation for their career.
I guess more specifically what I'm after, and I think that's terrific what you're doing there, is these school programs that you have for middle school and for high school. Have you seen any results from that and those
Yeah.
students becoming recruits?
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Or applying, and going through the process? Have you seen any results from that, or have you
Yeah,
been tracking that, or?
Absolutely. I can't tell you a specific number, but I used to sit on a lot of our interviews for police officer, and I spent a lot of my career with the F2O program, whether they were in my car or I was overseeing the program myself. And so you get the stories behind everyone. And I don't have a specific number because it's not something we ever tracked, but you hear that both through the interview process and through the F2O program as to why did you choose Modesto. And this type of thing does come up quite a bit. And I expect it's going to come up a lot more in the future, just because we're building up so much more.
Yeah,
than
it
we
makes
used
sense.
to.
The
right.
more you expand these programs, the more opportunity there is
Right.
for someone that really had never considered a career in law enforcement going,
Yeah.
maybe that would be a good fit.
And
for me.
it's,
And then, and if it bears fruit, if they eventually do become a recruit and an officer here, that's a win-win.
you want people who are applying here who are focused on our city, right? And our community, not because this is, they threw something at the wall and this is where they landed. And sitting on the interviews, you can tell which is which because, not to give anything away, but it's pretty well known. We always are going to ask them what they know about Modesto, the Modesto Police Department. And you can tell those who say, well, I think I know the chief's name, and they always pronounce it wrong. And I think I know you have about somewhere between 100,000 and 1 million people. They don't know the community, right? But then you have those other people who come in and they say, hey, look, I went through this project. I went through the youth summit, and that was one thing that I learned about this department, about the, and why I want to work here. And that helps you recruit people and the right kind of people.
Sure.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and the only thing I'll add is it's not super uncommon, whether it's a Modesto, and we haven't had school resource officers for a little bit. But we'll still get people though, who will remember their school resource officer. And I've had even recently people from other cities that, still in the county, but they've gone to schools outside of the city. But they currently have SROs and will say, hey, I remember Officer so-and-so, and he kind of got me interested, or she got me kind of interested in this profession. And so I think, it's all about the right people. I know people have their different opinions on police officers and schools and things like that. It's got to be the right people. But I think a lot of mentorship from people I see applying to be police officers, it's not uncommon for me to hear some type of interaction like that, which got them kind of initially interested in, hey, this might be a career I want to go into.
I think that's great.
Are there any other questions from anyone on the board? Okay, I did have one more. I was curious, I mean, obviously there's manpower that needs to be had. If there was a budget for each of these programs, or if there was just a allotment of money from your guys' budget for it. But then I also remember you talked about there could be grants from other organizations that you guys just kind of connect with. So how kind of do you guys keep track of the spending for this?
Yeah, we could follow up at a different time. We get asked on occasion how much money we allocate towards youth programs and things like that. I can do some follow-up, Brian and I can, to see what our last numbers are. What the difficult thing is a lot of, as I mentioned, a lot of our budget is in manpower hours. And so it's not a certain amount we put X to this program. Some we do, like 10K with the cop. We help purchase the medals and different things like that. Trying to think of some other stuff. The grant, the CalVIP grant, like I said, pays for Detective Dodge's position. Trying to think, there's other things, but yeah, I can try to give you some assessment of kind of the hard costs that if that's what you're asking, hard costs for some of these programs. But as you've seen, we don't count every officer that shows up to Coffee with Cops or the Youth Summit or things like that. We allow on-duty people to show up. Sometimes if needed, we'll pay people overtime to come in. And so it's hard to really track those numbers, but we can at least try to get you hard costs on what we spend in some of these programs. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, I mean, just for, possible expansion
Yeah.
to other stuff and saying like, hey, this can probably double this budget here, or, something like that. Yeah.
For sure.
All right. Seeing no other questions from the board, I will open it up to public comment. Are there anyone in the public that would like to comment on this or have any questions regarding this topic? All righty. Seeing none, I will be closing the public comment. And then once again, I'll just ask the board if there are any other further comments. Seeing none, we will be moving on to item B. We will be revisiting the 2025 CPRB calendar topics. Scotty?
All right, thank you very much. Scotty Douglas, Deputy City Manager. So on this item, I'd like to just revisit some comments that were made at a prior board meeting regarding some of the topics that have been discussed and presented over the past year. And so I thought it would be helpful to provide a matrix. And so Simi's been kind enough to create this matrix for all of you. There's also copies of this in the lobby. And if you'd like, you're welcome to take extra copies if you know of folks that are interested in this type of material information. I encourage you to take that and let them know. There's been requests for some presentations of staff and to the board recently. And some of these presentations were made in this last year. And so that's the intent of this matrix, is that you can actually see when those were, what the topics were, and then the link directly to the recording. So that'll provide an opportunity for those folks that would like to, more information. They can check that out themselves. All right, so moving on. So this is an item that is revisiting the calendar of topics for the remainder of this year. As provided to you, there's a schedule here that provides the information. And currently we're in May. We are community engagement and activities presentation, which was just received from Lieutenant Kleiber, and then revisiting the calendar topics. And then we're discussing June through the end of the year. So in June, it's been scheduled that Chief Gillespie will be providing a response to the OIR annual report that was covering January 2024 to December of 2024. And then July 2025, although there's a topic here of the CPRB annual report, it's recommended by staff that we take that and we place that in the future topics area. And then there is an item on this agenda tonight that will be appearing in all future agendas until this is delivered to the board for an update from that subcommittee. So once we receive an update from the subcommittee, we're ready to bring this. It's my recommendation, staff recommendation, that you actually place that on the next agenda or the one following when that's ready. Because last year we kept bringing it, and it had to be delayed. And so we felt that it's probably the best to just put it in the parking lot for now. And then when that subcommittee's ready, placing that on. The next item is there's some future topic options that you see at the bottom. And it's recommended that, we've had some discussions internally regarding this, and there are 3 topics there. I'd like to start with the bottom one first, and that's presentation by the Homeless Alliance. I think that there's a great opportunity to have a presentation by the Homeless Alliance. And then following that presentation, the next month, I think it'd be helpful for policing and homelessness to come, because if there are any topics or questions or information that's requested following the Homeless Alliance presentation, then the police department would have a month to be able to go back, research, provide that information the following month. So just for your consideration, presentation on the Homeless Alliance, and then policing and homelessness the following month. And that could be an opportunity for putting that on July and August. And then if the CPRB annual report's ready, we can always fit that in with one of these topics as well. And then September, there's one other topic, and that's the Know Your Rights Summit. And so when that's ready as well, I think that can be placed in an appropriate month that's following. And then what that would do is, if that is ready, like in July, August, or September, to talk about and discuss. That would leave October, November, December. My recommendation is that if there are future topics you'd like to just put on for consideration, put them in the parking lot again. And then for those last 3 months of the year, you have an opportunity to place more timely what those topics are that you'd like to cover. So that's the end of my report, and more than happy to answer any questions you might have.
So as of right now, you are recommending that we remove the CPRB annual report to the parking lot.
Correct, until the subcommittee is ready to bring that, and then they can make that recommendation. And I'm more than happy to defer to any of the members of the subcommittee now to make comment on that.
I know, I mean, we met yesterday and we have just a draft right now, but we wanted to get some feedback from the board on any recommendations that they feel they would like to submit for the annual report. So if anyone on the board would like to reach out to either myself, Latricia, Nancy, Brad, and let us know anything that you guys have that comes to mind so that we can continue working on the report. I'm not 100% sure. Nancy, how do you feel if we keep it in July or we move it down to August? If that would be sufficient enough time to finalize it, because I know that we still have to send it in to the city. The city has to review it. We have to go over a few things and then submit it and present it. Probably not.
We're unmuting the microphone, but I'm not sure if I see one.
Oh,
So
sorry.
Maybe I'm missing it. Okay, it's behind the sign here,
There.
sorry.
Sorry.
Apologize.
Yes, so we don't think it have. There, yes. Is that working?
That button on that white thing over there on the other side of your thermos.
Oh, okay. Just to speak. Thank you. I didn't see it. I've got it, had it covered up. It will not be ready in July. I mean, part of that is the process. Once we're done, is submit, we get comments from OIR and I know the city attorney looks it over, and so that's all not gonna happen. I
By
mean,
July.
it would be nice if we were done by the end of June with all of our work. But then there's that process to go through. And of course, it would be good to get board comments. I think we brought it as a draft to the board last time. And there was discussion, and then we incorporated that. And then when we did the final, we had that before the board too. So, I mean, there is definitely a process that takes some time. And I must say, we got off to a little bit of a late start.
Yeah. Okay. So, then is this what happened?
Oh, I think we had a question.
Oh, okay.
Request, I guess, comment request, kind of bridging between the two elements here. I felt last year when we were notified the draft was ready, there wasn't a lot of window or notification to digest it before our meeting. So along the line of moving to parking lot is sort of fluid. So I feel it would be helpful for me if when you have your draft ready and you're wanting us to have opportunity to go through it and digest it, if maybe in a specific board meeting is when you say, we're ready to share the draft or will be in the next 2 weeks, so that we know it's coming and can kind of plan to go through it and digest it to offer feedback at the following meeting. That would move it from out of the parking lot right back into potentially the next month, but we'd have warning it's coming. Right now, we're trusting you guys are working on it. I can't really offer you feedback because I don't know what your conversations are.
Yeah, right now, I think we're just asking more for any, all recommendations that board members may have to send them into us so that we can then talk about them, discuss them, and then we'll obviously reach back out to the board members and continue the discussion. We just want to make sure we abide by the Brown Act and that,
That's the
all that stuff.
complicated part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if we were to have a rough draft at the end of June, is it something that we have to put on July's meeting for the board to discuss the rough draft?
Well, the rough draft would come, we would, city staff would see the rough draft, and like Nancy had indicated, that, there would be a review process internally, and then, I would recommend, based on the feedback that we just heard from Board Member Christensen, that, probably August. I mean, if all things are, unfolding the way that we're predicting right now and hoping for best case, August might be, a good place to put that, and then it would provide enough time for the board members to receive it well in advance, maybe 3 or so weeks beforehand, give them time to digest it. And then, as we did this last year, it comes to, an open meeting. It's in draft form. You're discussing it. And then when you finalize what your input is, then it's sent back. They finalize it, and then they bring it to the next meeting for approval.
I guess for clarification in what you just said, we can't actually have commentary or suggestions once we read the draft until we're in open forum, correct?
Absolutely. And so that's what, we've consulted the city attorney on this, just for process. And so it's definitely something you want to take into consideration. If board members are providing input and all of that outside of the open meeting process, that would could be in more than a quorum. And then I'll defer it also to the city attorney that's online as well, if they have any input, but we want to be cautious about that.
Yeah, Scotty, good evening, board members. Scotty's exactly right. I mean, theoretically, less than a quorum of you could talk about this outside of a meeting, but there's no real fair way to decide who gets to do that. And so the appropriate and the best way to handle that and make sure that we're complying with the Brown Act is to have those conversations during a meeting.
Thank you, Alex. And then just to clarify, there is a subcommittee that is less of a quorum.
Right, exactly.
Drafting it, but thank you for that.
Could I ask a question? I think that's still on, right?
Yeah, we hear you.
So if we said, okay, board members, if you look over your notes and send one of us or the subcommittee, your thoughts about what what you would be interested in seeing the board recommend to MPD, we can't do that. Is that how I understand it?
So Alex, if I could just kind of outline this a little bit. So there's 4 members of the subcommittee that's essentially drafting the annual report, correct?
Correct.
There's a total of 9 members of the board.
Yeah.
So if that is sent out requesting input, then that one additional input is a quorum, correct?
That's correct. So any communication outside that subcommittee regarding the content of the report, or even questions about the report, has to happen in a notice meeting as part of the meeting, because the Brown Act requires that a majority not discuss or in any way something within their jurisdiction outside of a notice meeting.
And then
If you heard the reports here from OIR and you have anything input that you'd like to give to this group, that's different. We're not discussing, we don't know what the content is, but if I see something in the report or in the report that OIR did that we think ought to be investigated, we would just say, we think it ought to be investigated. We're not.
in the open meeting, is that what you're referring to?
No, I mean,
Brad
If
just
I- If
sent
I
it.
read the report or I heard this thing and I thought these 5 things are what my topics would be. And I, just so that they have the knowledge of what the members are looking for.
I'll defer to the city.
That's,
attorney.
it
They-
makes, the answer might be the same, but it's different than what I would.
So you can't discuss in any way the report or what might, what might be included in the report or recommendations about or anything related to it outside of a meeting. So if you want to list those things in a meeting when we're discussing the OIG report, that's one thing, but you can't send those comments, even if they're not direction or anything. That's still a discussion about
So in order to do that, we would have to do that in an open meeting, which could be done.
absolutely.
As, anybody have any comments and questions about the OIR report and have that agendized? That could be done.
Or in June, if we had an agenda item that said board suggestions for annual report recommendations, and it was a brief discussion that if
Yeah.
somebody wanted to bring something, could we put that in as an agenda item? To me, it seems like it, in part, short circuits getting, although this did not happen last year, but getting more recommendations from board members when we're at sort of our final draft, because then maybe that would have to be pulled again and run it by OIR and the city attorney. So it seems to me, we don't want to have a discussion of the whole annual report, but if we could add to the June agenda and right now ask the board members to consider their notes and the various presentations throughout the year. And maybe they like very strongly, the board should recommend X. And then throw that out in June and we can discuss it some more, put it in the report. And then if it doesn't fly to the city attorney or, whatever, then maybe it wouldn't be in our final draft. I don't know. That's my thought on it.
I think that would work for some of the board members, but for me, I'll rely on the draft to get my thoughts going. So a suggestion and how you're thinking about it might be that when the subcommittee's ready, it's not so much of our final draft as it is our draft, looking for feedback, and whatever commentary comes is what you guys get to talk about and mull about, rather than we think we're done and not sure there's room for comments at that point. So maybe we get your slightly earlier version so that we can see where you're at and offer feedback.
Well, then, yeah, I guess then we might want to put it as an agenda item in July.
If you think you're ready, again, it could be a holding point, and then in June, you can say, we're definitely sure we're ready to go in July.
Yeah, that's good too.
Semi, can you fire up my mic? Thank you. According to the schedule you've presented us with, Scotty, next month, we're going to receive the MPD response to the OIR report. I'm assuming that that'll be from you, Chief Gillespie. And so after his comments and his response to the OIR report, that may stimulate more comments and questions and ideas, suggestions that we might want to include in our annual report. So I think, scheduling, if I understood you correctly, Nancy, you're talking about scheduling this for discussion in July from the full board on the draft of your report. Is that the subcommittee's report?
Is that what you were
Not just me, but what
No.
does everybody, yeah, I'm just trying to get.
She's having open discussion right now.
Well, it's not my report.
Right.
No, I understand that.
That's not it's you, I would just like to hear what Nico and Brad and Latricia think.
I think that, oh, is my thing on? Wait, how do it? This one?
They're all on.
Oh, hello.
We just turn them all.
It'll be a free for all.
I think that is what you were saying, Nancy, but you were saying it in June,
Yeah,
but we could do it for July.
yeah.
Yes, I'm on board. And then we would bring our draft in August.
You mean,
I think what I was suggesting is you, on that timeline, present an initial draft after we hear the chief's report.
In
Have it
June or
have-
July?
July?
In July, have an initial draft floated by us, so we have opportunity to think about where you guys are at, offer thoughts if we have them, and then you carry forward and go through your cycle, whether that takes 1 or 2 more months. Then you say, we're ready to
Yeah.
present our final draft, just still considered draft,
Mm.
but last opportunity to flesh through it.
I like that because part of what I didn't understand about the first process is that when is it going to go for city staff review? And it should be after we've
Yes.
done everything, not
Correct.
here we got a bunch more comments.
Correct.
Yeah, so I think it works good.
All right, so I just want to make sure I have an understanding of the direction. So right now, where it is right now, CPRB annual report, draft review, is that what we should title that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
draft review. And then in August, we could plan for Homeless Alliance, and then in September, policing and homelessness. Does that sound fair?
Couldn't we do the Homeless Alliance presentation and a discussion of the draft?
I think so.
Oh.
How long is the presentation? Do we know?
We don't know yet. I'm
Well, just
the
based-
chairman of that, and I was thinking when I read this, I thought, I think I better talk to you and figure out what you want. My guess,
I think
it's,
you need to actually talk to the board members.
it's
right now.
probably a 20-minute presentation talking about how the police department and other agencies are interacting with homelessness and how it relates to this board. It's not going to be the whole spectrum of
Oh, okay.
homelessness and housing and all that stuff, but it will be about as it reflects here. And a lot's been done. And it has been touched upon in previous meetings.
So if, once Chief Gillespie makes his presentation on the OIR annual report in July, then we would have the opportunity to discuss our draft version of our annual report. And then would it then make sense to have the final presentation of the report, the final draft in August? And then that way, once we've approved that as a board, it would go to you, the city manager's office, for your review and comment and whatever the process is at that point. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it seems logical. Like I said, sometimes there's some delays. We experienced some of those last year. And so as long as we
Yeah.
can just make adjustments along the way, if that's what's necessary.
Does that make sense to the subcommittee?
Yeah.
Yep.
So you would really put it off to August? then?
Yeah,
Yes.
for us, to
Fine.
vote on acceptance of the final report, final draft report, that then would go to the city for their comment and review, I guess.
Right, oh, yes, the city, but prior to that, the city staff would have input on the draft.
Yeah, between July and August, they'll have the input. And then if there's any changes that need to be made, we make them. And then August we come and we do the final
There you go.
at the meeting. Okay. So then we need a motion or,
Just one more
Okay.
clarification.
Get it all
So,
down.
one more clarification. So Brad, I'm gonna ask you, do you think that it's fair to schedule Homeless Alliance August? And then MPD's policing and homelessness in September? Do you think that'll provide you enough time?
Sure.
Or do you, or were you all talking about you want that to go in July?
I have a question.
Well, let me just answer it. I don't really, it doesn't matter to me when it's done.
Okay,
We'll be ready.
okay.
Policing and homelessness.
I'm sorry, Board Member Grant, I can't hear you.
Would policing and homelessness, would it be a problem for it to all happen on the same day as Homeless Alliance, and then on August we can kind of just have the time to kind of go through the report, so it doesn't seem like we're kind of like pressed for time?
Can I offer a thought on that?
Go ahead.
My thought on that would be the Homeless Alliance is one perspective and view of the scenario, and police involvement with it are completely different, and I think it could get muddled in the same conversation.
Okay.
Was separate's okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just wanted to hear
All right.
from everyone
Okay.
else. That's all I
Thank you.
questioned.
Also, at some point after the city has had the opportunity to review and comment on our report, and then we bring it back here to all our full board, and then we vote on presenting it to the public, I guess, would be the process. Then, would then not the chief want to respond to our report, our annual report, similar to what he does with the OIR report?
Last year you responded in December.
Everyone budget.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, I think that would, I assume that I would do what I did last year, which I came back and verbally presented my responses, and be happy to do that again.
Thank you.
Okay,
Okay, I just want to catch up and make sure I got all of this right. Just for clarification's sake, I know there was a mention by Nancy about board suggestions for a CPRB annual report where you guys wanted to have that as an item slated in June, which would be a preliminary discussion to the actual first draft that is slated for July. So is that right?
actually,
Eliminating.
We're eliminating that.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So we're just going for our first draft in July.
Mhm.
And then in August, we will aim for a final draft. Post that, it goes through our process. And then a presentation, hopefully in September, if all goes well, correct? And then you guys requested a response by the chief, so I'm gonna say perhaps October.
December, right?
Dec-
You did December last time?
I think that was based off of timing, so I'm just
Yeah.
going,
Okay.
yeah. So is October gonna work? And then going back to the presentation by Homeless Alliance, we're going to place that in July, correct?
August, right?
The Homeless Alliance, I thought it was July too.
And the policing would be.
And policing would be August.
Mhm.
Oh,
That's what I
okay.
heard.
So combined.
I'm not,
No.
now I'm confused about the whole annual report thing. We're going to discuss a draft.
In July. Uh-huh.
Mhm.
And that's our only agenda item in July? Is that?
And the presentation by Homeless
Okay, so
Alliance.
they'll both be in July.
Mhm.
And then we would schedule a meeting because then after, we'll have everybody's thoughts. And then we would schedule it for adoption
Yeah,
by
like
the
a
board
final draft would be
in
presented.
August, September. which
In
was the-
August, final draft will be presented alongside a presentation for policing and homelessness.
Okay,
And then your presentation will occur in September. Because you'd get input in July, so you'd have to incorporate that into your draft, and then you would bring back a final draft. Just to make sure everyone's points were taken. And then it would go through us to kind of vet through, and then you guys can bring it back in September, right, Scotty?
Right.
Does that make sense? I will email a schedule of the calendar, and we can always,
yep, it's draft
No,
review,
great.
final draft review, and then the final product.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Over
Final report
Correct,
presented.
correct.
Welcome to city government.
okay, so just to make sure, policing and homelessness in August, present the report in September, response in October. That's what we have so far.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And we'll leave
Yes.
November and December open, and as we're going, if we need to schedule another topic, then we have those slots that are open.
Good.
Whenever you're.
Know Your Rights is still in the parking lot. Yeah.
So yeah, that concludes our report. I think all the questions have been addressed.
Okay. So then we move on to opening up to the public. If the public has any comments about the calendar topics. Seeing none, I will close public comments and I'll ask the board for any further comments. Seeing none, we will move on to staff comments and reports.
We just formally just motion to approve.
Oh, the calendar? We have to do
As-
that. Okay,
as
so there was a
discussed.
motion for
Move to
that.
approve.
Apologize.
Second.
Second.
Brad.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Could you go over it one more time? No.
I was about to say. I was like, no, you're not serious. That was a good one. You got me for sure.
Okay, on to staff comments and reports. Is Stephen Colony, we have a update? Oh, he is here. Oh.
Oh,
All
ye
right.
of little faith, Chair Solorio. I have been paying very close attention, and good evening, everybody. It's nice to be with you again, at least remotely, and I am going to limit my remarks to pretty much of a brief hello this evening. I'm actually at, more of a quiet part of my cycle, having presented last month, and I want to thank everybody again for their engagement with the report and the questions and comments last month. I enjoyed the experience of presenting and interacting with you folks about that, and I hope you will continue to consider the report a resource. And I certainly heard the discussion about the next few months. I will look forward to Chief Gillespie's response to the recommendations, and then we'll see what happens with the CPRB annual report. And the last thing I would say tonight is I am very happy to be a resource to the board during the drafting process in any way that makes sense. So for the subcommittee, please feel free to get in touch with me at any point to ask some questions or just kick around some ideas or whatever else. I enjoyed the process last year, and if I can be helpful, I certainly am very willing to. So thank you. And again, if anybody has any questions, please let me know. But otherwise, I can call it good for tonight.
Thank you, Stephen. Does the board have any questions for Stephen? All right, seeing none, I will be opening it up to the public. Is there anyone in the public that has any questions or comments for Stephen? Seeing none, I will close public comments. Once again, board, are there any last comments that you'd like to make towards Stephen? All right, seeing none, we'll be moving on to board comments and reports. At this time, board members may make a brief announcement or report briefly on his or her activities. Policy goal number 8, review use of force policy to minimize likelihood of death resulting from use of force. Is there any update?
A week or so ago, and we had some issues that we wanted to bring up to the board. And part of it was sort of interesting and works into the whole agenda discussion, is that we've had things that we've talked about, or we as a board recommended last year, and then they don't get, but none of us are quite sure how to get those things on the agenda. So, for example, we made a recommendation that for future board discussion about the kind of notification should be made to families if there's a death in the family relating to an officer-involved shooting. And we wanted that for discussion, and so we would like to put that, I guess, in the parking lot, if we may. Is that how a subcommittee goes about asking for full board discussion? Yes?
Yeah, I would say that if there's something that your subcommittee would like to place on the agenda, then I would just recommend that you coordinate that with staff. We'll include the board chair, and then that's how that can get scheduled.
All right. Also, in our meeting, we discussed the March 17th incident, and we wondered whether, and I don't know if we can just ask you right now,
Well,
whether.
It wasn't agendized, so it's a report out from
All
the
right.
subcommittee.
Thing that we thought would be interesting to know is whether the department has any stop shooting protocols. And we did want to be clear that we are not questioning the validity, or I'm not sure what, whether it was good shooting or not. We just wondered because there were questions that came up in our discussions, some have been raised by community members to the subcommittee members, and we just are interested in that issue. And we were also interested in whether use of tasers should be more than encouraged, but required to be looked at in the context of de-escalation techniques. And we were, in connection with that, we were interested in the chief's response to the OIR report about the use of tasers and how it went. One thing that we've done sort of over a period of time, but we went over it again at our last meeting, was look at the Forward Together recommendations on use of force and some changes in regulations that were recommended. And most of those, we should say, have, or many of them, incorporated even before the chief or the MPD changed policy in response to the OIR report. So these were changes, some were made even before we started meeting in June of 23. And so I guess what we will be doing is, in terms of incorporating some of what we read in the report, is putting that together and sending it to you, Scotty, if we want a full board discussion of what we might want to recommend.
Yep.
right?
One thing, and Alex, stop me if this isn't correct, but one thing I might suggest is if you're looking for input on, which several of those questions you talked about, I would have answers to. It might be useful prior to coming forward with a recommendation or bringing it to the full board as a recommendation, potentially to include in OIR or in your annual report or whatnot. You might ask me or the appropriate resource MPD to come to a subcommittee meeting to answer those questions, be able to vet that out. And then depending on, the answers, you guys can still, as a committee, bring forward those answers or bring forward any recommendations along with obviously the response you got from us to the full board. Might be suggested might be a more streamlined approach rather than having to bring everything to the full, agendize it, bring it to the full thing. Because you guys can meet as a subcommittee as often as you want, and we're happy to show up to those meetings and provide you any information that you feel is appropriate.
Or would it perhaps be easier if I sent you an email from CC to all of us, of course, so everybody knows, that the results of our discussion, then you might be able to answer them very easily in response to that memo.
Yeah, and you're referring to the subcommittee, just the
Correct.
subcommittee, right? Because I can't go to the full board, but
No.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
I would assume that seems, Alex, that seems like it would be okay, right?
Yeah, there's no problem with you providing that information.
One other thing that, in researching these issues, we came across, actually Austin came across a research called the policescorecard.com. And I'm not, we were wondering if OIR, if Stephen could perhaps give us his opinion, one, if he's familiar with it, of whether it's a credible source, Or maybe even the chief can do that, at another meeting.
Or we can talk offline.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
okay.
We just want to know if it's a credible resource. I think that's where we're starting first. It's just, we want to know if it's a credible resource.
So those are some of the things that we discussed at our meeting. That's kind of our update.
Yeah, private comments, seems like the most effective approach would be to invite a member of the police department to attend a subcommittee meeting and perhaps be able to answer these things, and then, you know, we can do with that what we will, so.
Thank you for that update. Moving on to policy goal number 1, improve relations between the community and the department. Do we have an update?
Maybe not. There we go. Our subcommittee sort of shifted gears 3 to 4 months ago to focus on the Know Your Rights conversation point that came up. And we have been really struggling to get an alignment on meeting opportunities. So yesterday, we did not have consensus enough to follow through with the conversation. So I suggested we sort of move it to the parking lot for a few months, which staff had already done for us on paper today. So I will just leave it there that we'd like a few months to regroup, get through the reporting season here, and then we will reprioritize and move it off the parking lot somewhere around September, October, something like that. And probably look to do something in spring rather than fall. No, we started talking in spring about doing it in fall, so now we'll start again in fall and look at spring. How's that? And that's all I have.
Thank you. Do you have, no? Okay. Moving on, policy goal number 3, reduce youth arrest, particularly among Latino youth. I do not have an update on that one. Brad, do you have anything? Nothing? Yeah, we don't have an update on that one.
I made a slight error on your script. There is another one, if you'd like to take a look at Austin Grant's agenda. Item D. Your script doesn't have it. My apologies.
Oh, is it the? All right, and then moving on to item D, CPRB Annual Report 2025 Subcommittee Update.
That was great.
I think we,
Beat that horse to death.
I think you probably covered that at this point, but that's on there as a placeholder also, just to provide an update from that subcommittee
Okay.
until it's completed.
Okay, yeah, I mean, we do have a first quick draft, nothing concrete, there's no recommendations, anything like that just yet. We just have kind of a summary from the year 2024, what we went through, what we learned, topics that we talked about, things like that. So yeah, again, hopefully in July, we can have a further discussion with everybody and get some recommendations out of you guys, and we'll have hopefully some recommendations to kind of piggyback off of as well.
Night new to you also. And will you find that helpful?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. All right, and moving on to agenda item 7, future agenda items. Next month, MPD response to the OIR annual report of January 2024 through December 2024. And on this part, do we ask the board for any comments or anything? No? Okay.
It's just it's just acknowledgement, and we've already discussed the
Calendar.
schedule and the calendar, so.
Okay. And in closing, this is adjournment, and our next meeting will be June 18th at 5:30 in the chamber here. Thank you all and enjoy your evening.